Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final and third part of this three-part mini series. So, this was part of my bigger alternate election history series, which I will be still continuing. But this series was basically we started in 1992, and it was what if Ross Perot won, and then he won, right? And then in 1996, what if Ross Perot ran for re-election? He won. If you did not see the first two, please go watch them now. Um, but now we are going to be ending it off with what if Donald Trump was the vice president of Ross Perot and he ran as a reform candidate in 2000. So, he actually did run as the reform candidate for the presidency in 2000, but now the Reform Party has a lot more recognition, and Donald Trump also has a lot more recognition. So now we are going to be seeing what if you know Donald Trump ran as a Reform Party candidate in 2000, and the Democratic and Republican candidates stay the same. So now let's just start with the safe states. So these are like the reform strongholds. There's not going to be many because I feel like Donald Trump will be a much weaker candidate than Ross Perot, especially in 2000. Now he's obviously a much more stronger political candidate, but yeah. Okay, now let's go to the safe Republican states. I have Indiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and South Carolina. Reform candidates do horrible in the South, so that's why. But I do also have Texas. So Texas, Perot would have done much better than Texas. He might have even won Texas, but that was his home state, and Perot did a bit better. I think he would do more. He would do better in the South, a teeny bit more than Trump, and that's already how bad reform does in the South. Now let's just go to the safe Democratic states for Al Gore. These are like basically in the Northeast and Hawaii. So we have Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Maryland. I also have the District of Columbia because, well, that's obvious. So those are the safe states. Now let's move to the likely states for reform. These are going to be Minnesota. Wait, no, sorry. Those are lean states, actually. We have Maine at large. Wait, no, sorry, raw. Okay, wait, no. I have Maine 2nd District. I have Arizona and Colorado. So, Arizona and Colorado in 1992, Perot got over almost 24% of the vote in both of them. But in 2000, they were won by George Bush by great amounts. But I think Trump would be able to pull it off here in Arizona and Colorado. I also think that they will win in Alaska by a likely margin. Bush did really well in Alaska, but Reform does really good in Alaska. I feel like they are going to be able to take that vote from Bush and Gore. So now let's go to the likely Democratic states. These are going to be the pretty still Democratic strongholds, but just not as much. Illinois, Delaware. Delaware, Reform does really good in Delaware. But this is a general election, and with Donald Trump, I feel like Reform doesn't have a chance of winning in Delaware. Those are the likely Democratic states. And now let's go to the likely Republican states. This is basically the rest of the South. The reason the Arkansas and Louisiana are likely, you're probably like, dude, you just said you just said reform was horrible in the South. Why are these likely? Well, it's because Al Gore. I feel like he would still keep some of that Bill Clinton legacy with him, and that would improve his vote in these states. But obviously not enough to get him the nomination. Sorry, to win these states. I also have Kentucky, West Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia as likely Republican states. These are basically. So Kentucky was won by Bush by over 15 points. That's safe. West Virginia was won by Bush by over 6 points. I just feel like Trump could take some of that Gore vote from West Virginia, and I feel like Bush would expand his lead in North Carolina and Georgia. So yeah, those are the likely states. Now let's go to the lean states. There are a lot of these. Now let's start with the lean reform states. This is going to be Minnesota, Wisconsin, Oregon, and Maine at large. This is because of uh in Oregon here, Gore won it very narrowly by less than 1 point. I feel like cause reform does actually do pretty well in Oregon. Perot got over 24% of the vote there. I feel like they are going to be able to pull it off in Oregon. Wisconsin, Gore won by even less, and Perot did do well in Wisconsin. Got 21.5% of the vote, and in Minnesota he got almost 24% of the vote, but Gore won it by over 2 points. So that's why I think Minnesota and Wisconsin are lean. And Maine at large, uh, we'll just first do Maine's first district after I do that. So Maine's first district, I have it as a lean Democrat, because although reform does do really well in Maine, I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off again in Maine's first district just because of how Democrat and liberal it is. Going to be very hard to flip it after Perot. Now let's go to the other lean Democratic states. These are going to be New Mexico, Iowa, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, as well as New Hampshire. I'll explain New Mexico first. New Mexico, Gore won it by less than, Gore won it by 0.06%. This was almost the closest state of the election, except for Florida, and we all know Florida, right? But New Mexico, I just feel like it's going Democrat. I feel like Trump is going to take more vote from Bush than Gore, so that's why I think New Mexico is going to go lean instead of tilt. For Iowa, Iowa was won by another very small margin by Gore, and it's basically the same reason as New Mexico. Michigan, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire, they were all won. No, New Hampshire was won by Bush, but I feel like it's going to flip to Gore due to I think Trump is aligning more with Bush than Gore, so that would mean taking more voters from Bush. And then Pennsylvania and Michigan, those are all pretty understandable because they're pretty close. Pennsylvania is already lean, and Michigan, it's basically lean because it's only 0.1% off the margin. Okay, now let's go to the lean Republican states. These are going to be South Dakota. Okay, I also forgot North Dakota's likely. Sorry about that. That's basically just because how reformed North Dakota is, how well Ross Perot did there, but also George Bush has dominance in the Midwest. Okay, I have Nebraska's second district as well, Kansas. So these are basically the more reformed Midwestern states. Sorry, the less reformed, because these are the most reformed Midwestern states. I also have Virginia, Tennessee, Nebraska's first district. Nebraska's at large, and yeah. So the reason I already explained South Dakota and Nebraska first, Kansas and Nebraska's at large, but Tennessee and Virginia. Tennessee, it was already lean, so understandable. I think, although Trump would take more vote from Bush, I still feel like it won't be enough to get it to tilt, obviously. Virginia, 8 points. I feel like Virginia is an interesting one. I feel like Trump does have a good appeal in Virginia, and although like in modern day, Trump is horrible in Virginia. They're allergic to him. But obviously, Trump was not a MAGA back then, so I feel like he would appeal to a lot of Virginians, enough to make it lean instead of likely for Bush. Okay, now let's move on to the lean, the tilt to reform states. These are going to be California, Ohio, and that is it. I'll explain these right now. California, it was won by Gore by over 12 points. I just feel like Trump is probably quite a celebrity in California. I just feel like he would have lots of name recognition in California. He would have high appeal in California because of the voter uh, thing there. In Ohio, Bush won it by over 3 points, which is not a lot, but I feel like Reform does actually do pretty well in Ohio, and I just feel like Trump is going to be able to pull it off slightly by probably less than 0.3%, and in California, probably less than 0.1%. Now let's go to the Democratic states. These are going to be Nevada, Washington, and New York. Like I said before, Trump is a very big celebrity in New York because of Trump Tower and all of that. It is not enough because Gore won the state by over 25 points, and Trump is a really only reason it's tilt. But yeah, there's no way he could win it. Probably Gore wins this by like 0.8%. Nevada, I just think Bush won it by 3.5%. I just think Trump takes enough votes more from Bush than Gore to make Nevada tilt blue. Oregon, Gore won it by 0.44%. And I feel like because of Trump taking more vote from Bush, I feel like it would grow to maybe like 0.8%. Now let's just end it off with the final states, the tilt Republican states. These are Missouri, Florida, Nebraska's second. Sorry, Nebraska's third and Nebraska's second. Nebraska's third and Nebraska's second. Reform does really well in these two. But remember, Bush does have dominance in this area, so I don't think they're going to be able to keep this one. Missouri, I feel like it also goes to Bush. He won it by 3.3%. I feel like, again, Trump would take enough vote from Bush to make this go tilt. And finally, Florida. Bush barely wins in Florida. I just think he barely clings on. I feel like Trump, again, does take a teeny bit more voters from Bush than Gore. But I just don't think it's just enough to make it go blue. So yeah, that's why this is my 2000 what if Donald Trump ran as a reform candidate. This is the end of the miniseries. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry. But if you don't know, if no one reaches 270 electoral votes, in this case scenario, it goes to the House. And since the House was controlled by Republicans at the time, George Bush does still win the presidency like he did in real life. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.